Hey, 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 hey. We are back again. We are back again with our second powerhouse guest on today, the launch day of my new book, The Power of a Woman from the Perspective of Real Men. We're talking about power, we're talking about real today. And I'm so blessed and honored to be able to have with us this beautiful, wonderful powerhouse guest, Miss Dame Doria. She's coming in all the way from Hawaii, so we are double honored, double blessed. I don't know, maybe she's in Hawaii or she's in San Diego. She's all over the place. But you're talking about someone that is incredibly, incredibly well astute, and an entrepreneur's entrepreneur, a motivator's motivator. If you've heard anything about someone by the name of Mr. Robert Kiyosaki, she was business partners with him for years before you heard about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And guess what? We have her on our show today to be able to help celebrate the launch of this new book, The Power of a Woman from the Perspective of Real Men. Miss Dame Doria, welcome to the platform, to the stream. How are you, Dame?
Aloha from San Diego. I just
San
flew in.
Diego.
I tricked you.
We never know where you're at. Thank
That's
you so
right.
much for being here, Ms. Dave Doria. We're talking about the launch of this book today that we've been working on for so long, The Power of a Woman from the Perspective of Real Men. We'd love to be able to hear a little bit about you, what you think about this book. So the stage is yours. Here we go, Ms. Dave.
Aloha, everyone. I am so excited. I have some questions for you, but I have to tell you that I was going through it and I was reading it and I was just thinking, oh my God, this is actually more of a workbook than a book. I just want to make sure that everyone knows. Look at all the little, what do you call it, dog ear that I have already, because those lists are so, so powerful. And there were certain things that really, really moved me, particularly when you included, about women who are disenfranchised. And, for the last 42 years, I've been working on the transformation of educational systems around the world. There is not one country on the planet that has an educational system that works for everyone. And one of the things that there is this great book, and I'll think of it in a minute, which did all the studies that were necessary for us to be able to accomplish the United Nations, the 17 goals for us to make the world work for 100% of humanity. Drawdown, that's the name of it. Paul Hawken, Drawdown is the name of the book. And they did all this research all around the world. And they found out that the number one thing that we had to do was to focus on young women, on little girls, and on women, on their education, their empowerment, their ability to be able to feel strength, to feel and love, to feel empowered, to get them out of circumstances And really, your list, I mean, they were so powerful. I'm going to recommend this. Actually, the United Nations would love this book. And and I just feel that there are so many women organizations that promote and support women that this probably will be their handbook. It will be their workbook to be able to give it, excuse me, to other women, to women that can support them, that can help them, that can help other women. Beautiful, beautifully done. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dave Doria. It was such an inspiration to me to write the book. You know what first inspired me to write this book was when Lena, my wife, and I thought we were having a little girls. We talk about this in the book, and
Yes.
the doctor says well, that's an 85% chance that because he was the early, he would do the early diagnosis of what the child's sex would be, and everyone was talking about he was 85% accurate. So when he said little girl, my heart immediately went down into my ankles because I was thinking about this world and how it is for women. And I wanted to do something, Dame, about bringing equality because anytime somebody's in fear, you can't have equality. You can't have that knowing and that confidence that what I've got, I get to keep. So the people that are trying to keep it all, they're always going to be in fear because of suppression. So this book is about bringing and bridging that gap. I'd like to be able to talk to you a little bit about your background, some of your pedigrees, and some of the things you've done before we dive in to more of the subject matter. Tell us a little bit about who is Dame Doria Cordova, because I want the world to know you at a higher
Thank,
level than they already
thank.
do.
Well, I am a Chilena. I grew up in Chile until I was 12, and my parents were literally immigrants. The United States back in the 60s were calling in people to come in and work. They needed a lot of workers. And my stepfather had been an entrepreneur. Him and his brother had lost the family's money. And so they were already entrepreneurial in thinking, and we came to the United States, and they were busboys at first, and then waiters, and then all of them, literally all of them, went on to create their own businesses. So I was privy to a bunch of Chilean guys that every weekend and on the evenings they would be talking about how to build businesses, aside from my mother having her own beauty salon and my auntie. So I kind of grew up around small entrepreneurs, but people that really understood, my business success model, which we can talk about a little bit later. And so I grew up in LA, typical teenager. And at 18 years old, I had a very, very tough beginning on life. I was going to be married. My beloved was killed in a car accident, but actually it was more drugs. He was a bit of a dealer. He was a leader, beautiful. My Larry was a gorgeous young man. My first major teacher, besides my mother. And then I lost his baby 4 months later, and I was just so devastated. So I just became a major workaholic. And by the time I was 24 years old, I was a very, very beautiful young girl, very successful, working as a court reporter, official court reporter in the criminal court systems of the LA court, justice department. And I was so unhappy. So what does a young girl that's unhappy do? She goes to Maui. She goes to Hawaii. And I got a job as the first official court reporter in the Maui court system. Actually, it's part of the Oahu, but long story. And then from there, I had an enlightenment experience. I mean, I was so unhappy, but beauty heals. So by the time I was 26 years old, I had an enlightenment experience that put me kind of on the track that I had a job to do. And within a year, I was literally listening to Buckminster Fuller, the greatest, one of the, he is considered to be the Leonardo da Vinci of the 20th century. He was one of the 100 top individuals in Time magazine of the 20th century. And people use the word synergy all the time. He coined that word. He gave us so many different distinctions. And he was the first human being that I heard say things that were totally truth in my experience as a human being, that there was sufficiency, that there was enough, that there shouldn't be children dying of starvation, that there shouldn't be women being, abused. And in many ways, in so many, not allowed to be themselves. I mean, he was amazing when he got into conversations about women. And then within a year, I attended the first business school for entrepreneurs of its kind, which was about churning out social entrepreneurs. So I was able to bring in all my past of business, entrepreneurship, what I had learned in court. Because 8 years of being around the legal system, first as an assistant legal secretary, then as an interpreter, and then as an official court reporter, I had learned so much about law and business, and that combination, and with heart, it was, what can I tell you? And my family's training that you are going to be a successful young girl, but without understanding what success really meant. By the time I was 29, I was running this business, and that's what I've been doing now for the last 42 years. So that's my
Wow. 42 years. And some of the people, I know
yes.
you don't like to talk about names. She will never do this, but I've got to know this beautiful lady closely. But some of the names of some of the people that was close around you that you had interactions with, whether you were influential in their lives or you worked closely with, what are some of those names, Dame Doria?
Well, we met Tony Robbins when he was 23 years old. I was sent to go see this young man that was teaching neurolinguistic through firewalking. And we were in his first year. We're the ones that put him on airplanes to go to Hawaii, Colorado with our Money and You network to teach him. Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen did Money and You in 1979. And so we were there way before Chicken Soup for the Soul. And then of course Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad Poor Dad, Money and You, I believe in 1980, 81, and he was around us. And when I inherited the work, I literally, he had been around, and I needed a Marine. I needed somebody that was just going to take orders for a little while, and because I needed for the business to be run a certain way. So he and I were business partners for 9 years, and right here, right on the spot. I mean, literally right on the spot was where we used all the tools, literally, of Think and Grow Rich, all the tools that you love so much to create. I mean, we literally visualized somebody that later became Sharon Lecter, the woman that was the power behind. So between her and I, we have nearly 20 years of being behind him. And then, of course, he's gone on to do many other things, and we're in very separate universes now. And then, of course, we have Paul Mitchell, a hair guy that sadly he passed away in 1989, and Paul DeJoria continued with it. So he did Money and You 1980 in Hawaii. And then the other big name that Americans would know is Ben Cohen of Ben and Jerry's. So those are some of the big names. So we have many other big names, and Forbes Riley just did Money and You, and adored it. And pretty much in the Asia Pacific region, where we really, the Great Spirit took me to emerging nations. We have a huge network in the Asia Pacific region, particularly in China, and all the Chinese world, Singapore, Malaysia, all that. And then, of course, Australia, we have over 14,000 graduates, more than that now. And so we kind of, in 1985, Kiyosaki and I feel like we were the Blues Brothers, and we didn't get that name until later in the 80s. But in the in it, actually it was the Blues Brothers, in that we felt like we were in a mission from God, just churning out social entrepreneurs. So I get a lot of credit, but really what I have done, and this is important for your audience to hear, that all you have to do is create an environment where people can either learn, or you have a product or a service or a program or something where you can incite people, where you are like a catalyst, and then give them tools, give them distinctions, wake them up, bring them awareness, teach them different things that will really support them in accelerating. And my business school is called Accelerate Business School for Entrepreneurs. And just remember, my mentors were the first one to create that industry. So when you create an environment and people go out and do good for humanity and create tremendous wealth, the precessional effect, the ripple effect of that, then it is magnificent. And that's why I am such a happy person that also has heartbreak when her BFFs die. When things happen, I cry. I'm a very human being.
Man, this is just great background, and it makes me feel even more honored to have you here sharing this moment with me today. There were
Mhm.
so many people that were reaching out because we've been talking about this book now, for the past year, and we wanted to have it come out at the right time. Um, and this is the right time that we felt between my company, MYB Publishing, and our co publisher, Beyond Publishing. This is the right time. And when I told them that we had this lineup of powerhouse women today, they were like, "Are you kidding me?" And then some of the people that we didn't have time to get on that we're going to continue the conversation. Why do you think that you and I have been able to have some synergies together that would make you say, "Hey, you know what? I like this book. I like this concept." So when I talk about the power of a woman from the perspective of real men, I like to hone in on these two words, Dame Doria: power and real. So why have we come together and had this synergy, do you believe?
I truly believe it's because after all these years of personal work, I've been working on myself for 45 years. That enlightenment experience really affected me and opened me up to very beautiful ways of being able to perceive the world. And I just have an internal GPS, which actually every human being has. There's not one person that's more powerful than the other. We just have people that have more resources and more distinctions than others. We're all equals. But I have a GPS where I really feel people's hearts and I understand learning experiences. I understand things that occur in life. And I just love you and Lena and your little boy, where he's getting to be a big boy now. I love what you create, and and I'm very, very auditory. So having met you in Clubhouse originally, and then of course meeting you, and I have to admit that you have a little bit of Kiyosaki energy. Somebody was watching you, and they said, "Oh, I know why you love Jay so much." And when I was with Kiyosaki, and I spent 17 years around him, his heart and his generosity, and there is a part of you, and when you really get going, when you really get it, you're very, very different human beings. Please, I want everyone to make sure you know that. But at the core, that love of humanity and that love of wanting to make a difference. And then there is this thing called real, and people know what real is. And this is the thing, is that if you can just trust yourself that you know what real is. And this is why you have to meditate twice a day. Those lists that you had, you
Yeah.
got to do those lists so that you can be so aware, and let go. Ho'oponopono. I'm a Ho'oponopono practitioner. Ho'oponopono, that people are going to take you down and they're going to do all these things. Don't focus on the dark. Focus on the light. If I can make any difference to people listening right now, it's like focus on the light. Focus on everything that uplifts you and stay focused. These lists are so powerful. This self, what your book has is self-awareness, it's like it was a starter. I mean, this book, I know you could have made it this big. I know that because that's what
Yeah.
I have to do. But we just have to get people to get started. And we want to reach the masses. And I think that's where you and I have so much in common, that we are so into the masses, because we can empower. I could charge $1 million a year for you know advance, whatever, whatever, all these other things. But I'm financially settled. And this is why I tell people, be financially independent, because freedom is my number one value. So I love my freedom. But what I do love now, my focus has to be with the masses, because by now I thought it was going to be handled. And we seem to be backtracking. The United States, particularly, there's other countries moving full steam ahead, including with awareness, and with taking care of its people. And people don't want to hear that. China is one of them. I've been there for 20 years. And so now we need to really support. And for some reason, the Great Spirit put me in the United States longer than I've ever been here. So in my adult life, and we're here. We have that in common.
I believe that that is on purpose. because I'm a world traveler. I know you're a world traveler, and we do a lot of business in Asia. Done a lot.
Ye-
We have that connection there. It's kind of a trip that we have these connections happening.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, we're having the book translated into Mandarin. That's starting to happen now. So let our beautiful Mandarin friends know that that's coming. But Dame Doria, you as we were doing the final touches on this book, that's when I began to really get to know you. And I got to tell you, you were part of the inspiration as well for this book because I talk about these powerhouse women mentors that I had. First, I talk about this big one, my grandmother, Ida Mae Nolan. And then I
Yes.
talk about these three women, 123, 126, 128, who were off the charts. And now, all of a sudden, as I'm progressing through my life, I'm 53 years old right now, and I get to meet you. I
Thank
believe that you were sent into my life as one of those finishing touches on that powerhouse mentorship. I was telling Forbes Riley about this earlier about these gatekeepers for great, not just for good, these gatekeepers for great. I consider you one of those. And so
thank
I just want everyone to be encouraged that these people that you're hearing, like a Dame Doria, we don't want the conversation to stop here. Forbes brought something up, Dame, about this book is going to ignite conversations. How do you feel
you.
about that as far as the igniting, and why is that so
Absolutely.
important? Why is that so important, Dame?
That is so, where actually, you know how crazy we are about masterminds. I have been in a mastermind since I was 26. I have had mentors since I was 26 years old. I never not had them. I never not been in some kind of a mastermind or some kind of and have mentors, sometimes multiple mentors. Usually I just have like one at a time, but like right now I have multiple mentors, and one of the things that it is so important to get together. You need to get together with others because life is tough. There is a lot going on. I have to take some deep breath. There's a lot of teachers of unconditional love on TV. And what I mean by that, they bring up so many feelings for us, right? No matter what political party you're in, it's like right now there is an awakening that is happening, and we need to gather up. We need to get together. We need to share information. This is one of the Buckminster Fuller teachings, is that the more that you share, and expand, also Lynn Twist, like the whole sufficiency conversation that, I'm crazy about. How do we move people from scarcity to sufficiency? And only from there you can move into abundance. There is that sufficiency piece. So, what you have to do is you have to get together with other people and let other people be able to guide you so that you can reach those levels of sufficiency. And there is internal sufficiency and there's external sufficiency. And some of us just need to really work on the aspects of feeling enough within us, but we play along. We don't drop out. We just keep going. We keep making mistakes. Remember, that's what another Buckminster Fuller, teaching in life. There are no mistakes. It's only learning experiences. So let go of all the stupidity that we have had, all the dumb things we have done. You don't have to repeat them. Just get educated at every level, work on yourself and do this list. I mean, people should just have this book be like they walk around with it and go, okay, what do I need to do today? Oh, what was that I read, and have it be like a companion that supports them in being able to stay at that level of self mastery that is required right now more than ever on the planet.
Yeah, I didn't just write the book to just have some experiences or some thoughts. As you're saying, one of the things that I'm getting some early feedback from is, oh, I didn't know you were going to give us some instructions and some steps. So you'll notice that almost after every chapter, I'm giving like guidance on here's how you implement these powerful things that we're talking about. And it's not just from the women's side. I think the thing that I've got to really stress is that real men, now, if you're not a real man, you don't need to read this book unless you're ready to be a real man, which means you need to read this book. Now, did you know that today, I just got a message, Dame Doria, that today is the International Day of the Girl? Did you know that?
No, did you know
I,
that?
I did not know it. I had,
Wow.
hold on now. You want to talk about synergies? Everybody, go type it in. It just came over my phone as you were talking. It said, reminder, today is International Day of the Girl. October 11th is International Day of the Girl. And I've got all these pictures of little girls, young girls. And what would you have to say, Dame Doria? And speaking of International Day of the Girl, what would you have to say to some of these young ladies out there about the journey that they're about to go on through this life?
Oh, just that they are enough. They are enough. Whatever it is, wherever they are right now, and that they, I just want to talk to you directly, which is that you have learned what people around you, what they have learned from multi generational learning. And it is very important for you to understand that you are a gift. And every human being is a gift. And you were put on this planet, you were put in this world for you to do some greatness. And it can be very small, it can be very big, but most of us do small. You know, there was only a certain number of people that are like this magnificent, huge people that are always in the news. And you may be one of them, and every day, if we work on ourselves, if we get educated, and we follow our hearts, and not everyone is going to be intelligent with the books. Maybe your gift is with your hands and with the arts, and maybe not just teaching others, but also continually teaching yourself, and that there is help. Now there is help. There is help. If there's something that you're experiencing, there is help.
Yeah, and that's why this is really where the book brings that conversation to the platform. And you need to be aware. You know, the one thing I wanted both men and women to be able to do, and I want women, you know what? I want both men and women early on to get this book and read it. And I want them to have the conversation. And I'm going to have my son study it and learn it. He's 6 years, about to turn 7 years old now. So he's beginning to read. I'm going to have him do lessons on the book. I would encourage you to have your children do lessons on this book, because if you do, one thing I can promise you is going to change the view of how the typical man and woman relationship goes. And I told this statistic earlier on. Did you know that approximately 137 women are murdered every day by a family member in this world? That just blows me away. And then what's reported is 4 out of 10 women are raped sometime in their lifetime. And then our prior guest, Forrest Riley, said that's really double because of the amount that's not reported. And you've been involved, Dame Dory, when we've done these 24-hour marathons with these women. And also, we had a 72-hour event with Mo Rock of the Los Angeles Tribune, the CEO of the Los Angeles Tribune. And you've heard all these stories. You've been involved in helping and supporting. Is it really, if somebody comes to you, Dave, says, is it really an issue? Are women really going through some of these things and they're keeping it hush hush? What would you have to say about that?
Well, actually, I think the stats are very low because I have been in Asia since 1985, and in the Asia Pacific region. And in 1989, I started going to Singapore all the time. I lived in Singapore for 4 years. And what I saw there, and then I went to Malaysia. In 1995, I started going to Malaysia more, and I had the privilege of being around a beautiful angel. Now she's passed away, Dato Masna Hamid, who was going to run at one point to be Prime Minister of Malaysia. She was a big politician and one of the Malaysia's Asia Pacific's most successful entrepreneurs. And she was very, very involved in many of these things. And one of the things that I got my ticket to heaven was that I was in the background to change a particular law about taking care of HIV babies that were being taken to hospitals, and then the hospitals and the government had nothing to take care of them, so they used to go to this one home that we started supporting. And I started learning all these statistics about quote unquote called sex workers. And when I started hearing the stories, I just said, we can stop now, because my heart was in a million little pieces. And this is very common. So I feel like, honestly, from just what I have seen, that's those statistics are probably very low as to what is really happening. And you see in certain parts of the world, women all beat up. I mean, they're literally working. They have to go to work with their little faces all beat up. And what happens in China and all that. And one of the, don't get me started on the conversations, because a lot of the challenges that they're having in big countries like China or Japan or other countries, of not having enough people getting married and having families and people to inherit their businesses. By the way, did you know that right now you can go to Japan and there are so many running businesses that have all the systems in place, have customers, have everything in place, and there's nobody to take them over because the children have moved on to do something else, and they don't want to take family businesses over that are profitable, that are wonderful. I said, somebody create a business of being a broker for all those businesses, not only in Japan. So it has affected all these families. There is a whole challenge that is being had in that part of the world. I don't know so much here in America, but I am familiar with those challenges there. And that also creates tremendous stress on women, and being hurt and being, trying to do things with them and stoning them. I mean, there are laws right now in Malaysia that you can stone women if they two-time their husbands. I mean, I remember when I read that in the newspapers, I said, am I really in a country that still stones women? And that law may have changed. This was maybe that I read that maybe around 5 years ago. So I might give Malaysia a little bit credit and say it has been changed, but I don't know that for a fact. I haven't looked it up. So there are, and listen, don't get me started in all these other countries. So this is a movement for us, all of us, if we can all take responsibility. And I'm so thankful to you having that marathon, because I was like, I just started speaking about it. I had talked about it before, but now everywhere I go, I speak about these atrocities, and including, and this is the last piece I want to say. I was in Puerto Rico with a group of men, beautiful young men. We were at this event with my sweetie, who is part of an all men's group, and I literally said to them at the bar, I know you guys are going to go out and play tonight, because if I was a young man, that's what I would be doing. I said, please, please, please do not. No young girls, too young. If you see anything funny, walk away. It is up to you men to help me eradicate human trafficking and damaging children of any kind. And they were like, they could not believe that I said that. And I said, good, I had an impact. If you're going to go out and play with ladies of the night that are a little older and that you don't have any doubts. I know I'm outrageous, and I'm going to do one little part, one little piece. This is, if you can just save one, two, three, 10, 100 souls, you've done your job and got your ticket to heaven.
I love what you just said. Everybody catch that. That's wisdom. If you can do your one little piece. See, when we look at the big issue, the big challenge, the big problem, you see them overwhelmed, and then people go, and then they don't do anything, which perpetuates the problem. If everybody does a little bit, then the problem gets handled. And that's what we're doing here today with the launch of this book. I want everyone to go over to the link. We've got it in the comments there. You'll see it underneath my comments, the special pricing for the ebook right now. You can grab, for today only, you can grab that ebook for 99 cents, Dame Doria, over
Well,
on
I'm going
Amazon.
to buy a whole
99.
bunch of them. I'm going to go buy a whole bunch of them. Give them away.
Just get over there to Amazon right now. Grab that copy because it's for today only. The ebook, if you have Kindle, 99 cents. Hey, check this out. James Brown wrote this song. I know you're going to get a kick out of this. And you've heard it. You know it. It's called This Is a Man's World. This is
Yes.
a man's world, right? And everybody just kind of hears that ring. This is a man's world. But you got to listen to what he says next. But it wouldn't be nothing without a woman or a girl.
Yes.
You see? He goes, oh, how? When he finishes the song, he finishes with, oh, how man needs a woman. I sympathize with the man that don't have a woman. He's lost in the wilderness. He's lost in bitterness. He's lost in loneliness. Everybody hears, Dane, this is a man's word. But they better hear what else
Mhm.
James Brown said in that song. And that's what you're going to hear in this book. You're going to hear that it's nothing without us having each other. That's
Yes.
it. And
Yes.
that's what you bring to the table. You always bring togetherness. Every time I'm around you, every time I talk to you, every time I think of you, I think of togetherness. I think of we can do anything, we can solve anything. So, as we
Yes.
close up here today, and thank you for sharing this precious time, are there any parting words you like to share with folks about how do how does a woman who's been through some stuff, who's been through some tragedy, who's been through challenges, which many have, how do they do what you've been able to do, which is adapt and overcome and become extremely successful? Any advice for the ladies out there on that
You
issue,
have
Dave?
you have a whole chapter on it, decision making. I was so happy to see that. And what I just wanted to say was when you're going to make a decision, when you're going to make a choice, you have got to look down the road. Okay, if I make this decision, what is it going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What are the consequences of that particular decision? And when I was very, very young, I had many of my friends that I grew up with in LA are gone. They're gone. I lost 14 friends between the time I was 18 and 21, the first one being my boyfriend. There were 13 additional ones. Most of them were boys, two of them were girls. Now I think it would have been a little bit different. And I remember as if it were yesterday that there were certain decisions, including leaving a very beautiful, loving man who's still my best friend because we were going in different directions. And some of the things that were happening around us were going to take me to a path that I did not want to go. And it was the toughest thing I ever did. And I was only 23 years old, 23 and a half years old. And I knew that if I went in that path, that it was going to be what could evolve out of it, and I chose something differently, and it's probably the biggest decision that I made. So always look, never make a major decision when you are emotional. You have got to sober up emotionally. You have got to be able to just step away from it and take a look at what are going to be all the consequences of a business, a relationship, money, or just things that are happening, and now you have the support, you can get the help, and it is so important. Decision making. Thank you. I loved it when I saw that chapter. Thank you so much for including that, because that's what I want to leave everybody with. Those decisions will be, it's like the last thing I want to say, it's like a ship. If it just moves 1 degree, by the time it ends up in its final destination, it will be very, very far from when it started by just moving that 1 degree. So it is very important to make decisions that are going to take you for good things. The outcome is going to be the best for you and your family.
I think maybe we should do a training together, Dame Doria, called That 1 Degree.
That's
Imagine that.
great.
That 1 degree.
Yes.
What you're doing right here, this little shift right here, how it's going to look down there.
Yes.
Wow. How
Yes.
powerful. You guys, if everyone could do us a favor today, we just want people to be impacted. That's why we've done this special pricing on the book today. You can get the ebook on Kindle, 99 cents. And you just go over there to the link in there. If you get 10 people just to go grab that book today, we're going to take a portion of everything that happens with the book. It's going to help feed orphans. It's going to help battered women and children. It's going to help the abused animals. We're doing things now. We're starting to collaborate with the environmental global cleanup. But one thing I want to leave with here is that I know people are inspired by this message from you today, Dame. How do people get a hold of Dame Doria? If they want to work with you, if they want to spend time, if they want to learn more about this powerhouse journey that you've had and how they can connect with you, how can they get hooked up with Dame Doria
The
in Cordova?
best thing is to just go to moneyandyou.com and download my free book on the business success model, and you will be in the system. And I'm everywhere. I'm all around, and particularly I am with you. I follow you around and your whole one percenters and your whole team, so I can easily be found. But if they go there, that book will help them with some entrepreneurial tools that we have proven. It's all over the universe when you see it and you learn it. So that's where you go. And so just go to moneyandyou.com and you will see the book there at the bottom, the business success model. That's to kind
Money
of bring
and
with me.
You. Moneyandyou.com.
Yes.
Well, I love that title, Money and You. How do you want money to deal with you? So moneyandyou.com. And you just heard Dame Doria said she got a free book there. You can get connected. She'll be able to communicate with you. And we just loved having you here. It's been such an honor on the launch day. We're going all day today. By the way, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Today we're having a launch party to where we're going to be giving away all kind of gifts and all kind of prizes and just celebrating today. We're getting reports in that we're really ranking up the Amazon list right now. So everybody, if you can help with that, it's going to make a major difference in what? Bridging this gap. Dame Doria, you are a super, super woman. We love you with all we got. Thank you for pouring your heart and more importantly, your time in today right here with us. Everybody, shout out to Dame Doria. Thank you, Dame. We love you.
Aloha. Bye, everyone. Love you
Bye,
too.
everybody. See you soon on the next show.